Today I'm going to be talking about why I almost dropped out of college and what kind of convinced me to stay, I guess. This is basically going to be a video advising people against going to college. I think the first and biggest reason not to go to college, because you can say, okay, well, obviously, I'm not going to be the person that gets gender studies degree or fucking art degree because that's useless. Now, you could become an artist if you want, right? But you don't need to go to college for it. And in fact, I would say even with some of the tougher skills, engineering you do. But things like coding and computer science, you don't actually need to go to college anymore to get hired. Now, in order to have a competitive advantage and in order to be eligible for many job positions, they do require a bachelor's or even a master's degree. But there are a growing number of corporations that don't care if you've went to college. They care about if you have the experience in coding, and you can make a good $80,000 or $90,000 a year by taking those jobs, and you never have to take the time or money and put it into college, right? And having to get up 8 a.m. for your classes every single day. Although there are, many other options, like, taking classes in the afternoon. There's also colleges that are online, and honestly, that's fine too, right? Because even though online colleges are like all online college programs are of lesser quality, if you can get the job done on there and get your certificate or kind of get your degree and find a job and uh, you know you're able to acclimate to your job, then everything should be perfectly fine. So as far as online colleges or maybe community colleges, I would say that the degree of education, the quality of education is poor, but there are definitely times where you want to consider those opportunities. So that's number one. But to get back to my point of number one reason, because that was technically a side note, that wasn't my actual reason, is because the logic behind even getting a good paying degree in college is disappearing. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, think about it like this, right? And I know, politics is not the biggest thing that we talk about on this channel, but it seems like with the United States, with the national debt, and with the increasing ever expanding welfare programs, that they're going to be targeting the upper middle and upper classes more and more as time goes on, right? Because it is statistically been shown that taxing the 1% is not going to solve our debt. Um, it's not going to. It's not going to fund our social security, our welfare programs, etc., etc. And so, what are they going to do? They're going to do two things. The government is going to start looking at retirement, like retirement funds, like 401ks, and they're going to start to look at taxing the top 10%. Those that are making roughly, I would say the top 10% are probably making 125,000 a year. I know about 18% of Americans, because I remember this percentage exactly from like 8 months ago, or when I entered it. About 18% of Americans, at least in I think 2020, it would have been 2024, or actually 2023 because they didn't calculate 2024. 18% of Americans are making over six figures, right? And so, first of all, that means you don't want to be in a city because the IRS doesn't consider, at least not extensively, of where you live, right? State and local and property taxes and all that matters too. But you do not. Whoa, there's a moth in my room. What the hell? My window's closed. How the hell did you get in here? Well, if I flip the fuck out in the middle of the video, oh boy, it's right there, all right. Um, Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna turn off my light in the room and turn on. Actually, my dad will probably hear me, so I'll just let it fly. Okay. So, anyways, if you live in a city, right, and you make $100,000 a year, you're still a high income earner according to IRS, even though your expenses in life are objectively higher than somebody that would be in the countryside. Get off the screen, moth. Get off. It's a big moth too. It's not like one of those small moths. It's a big moth. I don't mind moths. It's just, you know, I kind of prefer them not to be in my room. So, anyways, there's that, right? So, 18% of Americans are making over six figures, right? Now, where do we know that the top 0.01% get their money from? Well, they're, billionaires. I don't know if the top 0.01% is worth $1 billion, but, let's just say the extremely top percentiles of our country are billionaires and CEOs of companies, right? But now that we know that the government is going to be targeting the top 5, 10, and 15%, we could start looking at what those people are actually doing. Now, some of them have real estate property and they're wealthy off of that. Some of them, have CDs or that they can renew, and they put $2 million in a CD, and or $3 million in a CD, and it 5%. Well, if you do the math, $3 million in a CD a year at 5%. So what would that be? $30,000 would be 1%. And so they would be making $150,000 off that CD, which then they could renew another year. So there are alternative ways to making that kind of money, but mostly what you're going to find is that the primary job is that source of income. So we're going to be talking about engineers, lawyers, doctors, computer scientists, data scientists. So when you really start thinking about it and how our progressive system works, our tax system works, what's going to be happening is the lower kind of skilled labor jobs. Yeah, nice job, Rico. The kind of lower skilled jobs that are not, that don't pay as much. Because in the meritocracy, of course, and how the free market operates, more training and means that you get paid more, right? The more training there is, naturally, it seems like the less people can do it, the less people are qualified to do it, as it requires more and more higher training. And so, now we'll get into that later in the video, because that's actually starting not to become the case. Where was I? So the government is going to be starting to tax those majors that require high amounts of training, right? And jobs that require high amounts of training, computer science, all that, make six figures. And so the jobs that are not like that, that are, your blue collar working class jobs, minimum wage jobs, things like that. Well, not minimum wage, but working class, middle class jobs that require low to mid levels of training, and that more people can do. They're going to start making approximately the same money as, say, a data scientist or a computer scientist, because while their theoretical salary is a lot lower, the people at the smart, wealthy people at the top 10 and 15% of society is going to start paying more taxes, while the bottom percentiles and the middle percentiles won't be affected as much. And in fact, it's going to be paid for things like tax deductions, things like social programs for them. So that's the number one reason why college is starting not to become a good option, and probably finding other jobs is simply because meritocracy is disappearing in the United States, and it is disappearing fast. What's going to end up happening is you're going to have a super elite class, like the billionaires, the tech billionaires. You're going to have some of your multi-millionaire real estate development people, and then you're just going to have a large middle class, or lower class, and it's just going to be made up of people of high, training required jobs, of low, skilled jobs, and it's going to be terrible because the idea of a meritocracy and being on that kind of top 10% will disappear, right? And so, what am I getting at? What is the point of doing all these classes? Calculus, if you're chemistry, biology, like organic chemistry, what is computer science? What is the point of doing all of these courses that are so incredibly difficult if it's looking like those people that, because the idea is that if you take those classes, you get higher pay and you're able to provide for yourself, maybe have a family. Sex sells. Not sex sells. Sex fuels the economy. The main reason why we have everything we do is because sex fuels the economy. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean young men, and, well, I would say more young men. This more applies to men than women. Men get the STEM jobs, primarily STEM jobs, right? And they want to go into these high training jobs so they can get a decent salary so they can find a wife and make a family. So sex fuels the economy. But anyways, back to the point. There's not really a point in doing these kind of high technical degree, jobs if it looks like 20, 30 years in the future, it may be that the upper middle class gets taxed out of oblivion as the top 1% can't fuel the government's expensive projects anymore. So it's like, why suffer in college if that's the case, and actually end up with a lot more debt than if you were to just do a trades job or just even do a construction job, right? It's almost like it economically disadvantages you, right? So there's that. Number two, these fields are becoming more and more. So this kind of goes against my philosophy of the more training that's required, the fewer people that there will be to do it. There are other factors too when it comes to jobs. Like, for example, if it's a sewage plant, worker, sure, plenty of people can do it, but not many people are wanting to do it. So that can factor into a job's pay, right? Because if they're really desperate for candidates, they may raise the salary so that the job is more appealing, right? People need to do it, and if there's no people to do it, society doesn't function. So anyways, what is my next point? My next point is these jobs. Now, this is going to sound kind of contradictory. It's still true, but it'll sound a little contradictory, but just bear with me. So the second point is that, it's 1 in the morning. I gotta go to bed pretty soon. The second point is that these jobs are becoming filled with a lot of people, right? So a lot of people are starting to realize, as the internet has existed for the past, it exists for probably 30 years now. But as AI grows and as coding becomes more and more wanted, over the past decade or two, people are really starting to shift their focus into technical fields that earn a lot of money, like computer science. I mean, you have engineering, right? You have engineering, that's true. But you have a lot of medical and data-related jobs related to programming and computers and things like that. Statistics, programming, things like that. And everybody wants to get into those fields, right? Because the idea is that they'll earn a lot of money by doing that. Now, I will say people aren't as aware about the possible death of the meritocracy of the United States. They just see it as, I'm going to earn a lot more money, and this is a six-figure salary. These jobs have a six-figure salary, so I'm going to go after them. So there are a lot of people now that are going into computer science, or that are trying to code, or trying to find ways to do computer science, right? And like I said before, there are a lot of jobs as well that are requiring masters and PhDs, because they realize that there are so many people out there, there's so many applicants out there, that the HR department will just raise the requirements so they can get the most qualified people, which means that you have to go through a lot more bullshit to actually find a job. Now, I would say these are more the high level jobs versus like the mid company jobs or the small company jobs. So there's that. Um, Although I will say again, like there are plenty of options. There are plenty of jobs that are willing to hire without college, coding jobs. But the general idea of this second problem is that there are way too many applicants on the job market, and these jobs become competitive, and that means that it's harder for people to find jobs. Um, So there's that. It makes it way harder for people to find jobs, in these kind of top 10, top 15% income earning jobs, where usually people with higher IQs go. Um, so there's that, right? The third thing is that college is a scam. Now, you're paying for a lot of classes, general eds, that have nothing to do at all with your major, right? And in some of these classes, even, this happened to me in history. Now, history is a gen ed that I think that people should take. Um, Maybe. I still have yet to explore that opinion, but it is frustrating because notice how whenever you're in your classes, if you pay attention on your phone and say math or computer science, they don't care, right? They don't give a shit. But if you don't pay attention to your class in English or speech, they care. I wonder why that is. It's almost like the lectures do absolutely nothing for you and they gain you absolutely nothing at all. You could do the work, first of all, without listening to a single lecture. And trust me, I know. I used to do math homework and science homework in my English classes in high school. I know high school and college are different, but trust me, they know that you can totally pass the class and not listen to a single word of their, instruction. And it just seems like it's the gen eds that do this because they know that their lectures are completely useless and they just fill up time. They're basically busy work, right? So what do we have here, right? We have a general ed, which has nothing to do with your major whatsoever. And I know there's going to be that one kid that's watching. Well, maybe it'll relate in this one way, in this one, work. Come on. So you have a gen ed that you are paying for, that you have to take, and that you did not want to take. You are paying for it, meaning you are paying for that teacher, right, to take that class, and you are being forced to listen to it while you are 18 years old or older, which means you're an adult and you could go get shot up in fucking Iraq or Afghanistan. Now, think about how pathetic that is. And here's another thing, too, that I really think is pathetic. And my dad was like, kind of got mad at me when I said this, but and I know, right? Like, how else are you going to test knowledge? But there is something really pathetic to me to think that there are people that are 25 or 30 years old that are getting their PhD and they're still taking quizzes and tests to get A's to make mommy proud. Like, I'm sorry, but that is it doesn't seem right. Like, it really doesn't. it doesn't seem, holy cow, it seems very pathetic to me. Like, I should be working. I should be out, building something, or welding, or, whatever, instead of taking a calculus 3 quiz for mommy. I got an A. Woo! There's something really fucking pathetic about that, and childish about that. Right? And the only way that you learn in college, basically, besides reading a textbook, is learning through lecture. Right? You don't do any class activities in, say, calculus most of the time, or computer science most of the time. All you do throughout the entire class is sit there and watch a lecture. And if you can't pay attention to that, then you fail the course. And I just, I guess you took computer science and calculus, so that's understandable. So maybe scrap that. But it is kind of annoying that it seems like the only way that colleges teach people, they can't find anything creative. And if you don't learn off of lectures, you're fucked. People learn in different ways. And if you can't learn through lectures, you're fucked. I mean, that is not something that we should be doing. And, the idea is, yeah, I would say there's probably not enough support in college as well when students are struggling, but that's just me. So that's another thing. Gen Eds, and just how fucking pathetic it feels and dehumanizing it feels to go in that classroom and to fucking, take a quiz like I'm 5 years old. You know what I mean? Like, nothing feels more dehumanizing than that. And I know what some people are probably thinking, well, that shouldn't be. It does. It feels very fucking dehumanizing. And it feels even more dehumanizing. And I get it, right? People need to do it. I'm not a communist. Oh, people shouldn't work, It feels even more dehumanizing knowing that for the next, several decades, I'm expected to go into work, sit in a chair, and fucking type all day. And have such a sedentary lifestyle that it could take 10 years off of my life, 15 years off of my life. That 10 to 15 years off your life. You guys have probably lived, say, now keep in mind that these 10 to 15 years would go by faster than what you experienced in childhood, for example, right? Because children are able to capture more photo memory with their brains, and so life feels a lot longer to them. But holy crap! Yeah, let me get that down. But can you imagine? Right. So maybe take, say, a 5-year period, or like a 5 to 8 year period. Can you imagine that being taken away? Actually, what would it be? Whoops. Actually, no, scrap that. Take away 25 years from your life, because 25 years of that life may be equal to 15 years that you experience as a child with the more memories that you have. Can you imagine 25 years of your life being scraped away because you had a sedentary lifestyle and you became, you had high cholesterol, you got diabetes, you got health problems, and work doesn't easily, it's kind of hard to eat at work. So you're leaving a very unhealthy lifestyle, sedentary lifestyle at work. And there are ways around it, like you can exercise and all. But that's not what I want to be doing. And I almost dropped out because of this, because I kind of want to do real estate. Now, I decided not to because there's no way that anybody's going to listen to somebody that's 20 years old, right? In order for you to be successful at the market, you have to have some lived experience. People trust realtors with experience. You know, they lived through this housing crisis, and you know, they've seen the housing industry over the past 10 to 15 years. Now it's changed. You know, and even if that's not true, even if, say, I started at 30 or 40, right, and I didn't have those 10 to 15 years of experience, people, by the way that you look and the way that you present yourself as old and wise, will think that you, in their brain, encapsulate that you have experience and that you know what you're talking about versus a 20-year-old kid, right? So that's why I didn't go into real estate, and I didn't go into construction. I just said, you know what, I might as well finish college, right? Um, so yeah, I might as well do that. Oh, god damn it! I hit somebody, motherfucker. Now I have to hide. Report immediately. Oh, shut the hell up. I like how there's no actual, like, on the map, I'm actually in the middle of the ocean, but there's actually islands here. There are actually islands here. Like, that's pretty funny. If we look at the map, it says that there are no islands here, but there are. So yeah, those are just some things to think of. Now, why did I end up staying? Well, I ended up staying for a couple reasons. Um, so one is I might as well just get this career done, right? I might as well just buckle up and try to get this career done. Number two is, even if meritocracy seems like it's going to be dying with ever increasing taxes on the top 10 and 15% of people that have worked 4 years, 6 years in college, or learned a very high white collar technical skill, not technical, very high high skill, high value skill, there might be the possibility that I still gain some prosperity over if I just continue to do blue collar work, right? And number three is I can't really see myself doing anything but like, it feels wrong. Something in my gut feels wrong if I drop out of college. So, I started it, I might as well finish it instead of trying to transition into something else. I'm kind of enjoying college. I'm almost done with my gen eds. And here's another thing too, is that it gives me more job security. Right? Now, I understand what I was saying, which is, yes, data science is becoming more competitive, computer science is getting more competitive, but I kind of want to do remote work. Right, and and that'll give me access to live anywhere I want to, with my boyfriend especially. And I want to live in Washington, Oregon. I would live in Pennsylvania, in the Appalachians, and like Tennessee or Kentucky. That would work too. So, God, this moth is bothering me. So that's why I decided to stay. And also, I like the gym there. I know that's dumb, right? Because I could just pay $10, a year for the gym, probably being charged 5 times that here at the university. So anyways, would you get, moth? I'm going to turn off the light in this room and turn on the light in the hallway, and so it goes out there. But, thank you guys for watching. Bye.